The colors of love. Amara was a radiant young African woman whose energy could light up an entire room. Freshly recruited into an international consulting firm in Seoul, she carried herself with confidence, intelligence, and an undeniable warmth that drew people toward her. Her colleagues admired her brilliance at work, but some whispered about her foreign background and her culture. The doors of the towering glass skyscraper slid open with a soft whoosh. Amara inhaled deeply, clutching the strap of her bag as she stepped into the lobby. Seoul was a world away from home, and though she had dreamed of this moment for years, reality hit with a wave of nervousness. "Welcome to Han Global Consulting," the receptionist greeted politely in Korean. Amara bowed slightly. She had been practicing and replied in careful Korean, earning a surprised but approving smile. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt like stepping into another life. Everything gleamed. Polished floors, spotless glass walls, and the hushed murmur of efficiency. As she walked into the meeting room, she could feel eyes on her, curious, assessing, some kind, others skeptical. "Everyone, this is Amara Okafor, joining us from our London branch," the team leader introduced. Amara smiled, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of her heart. "It's an honor to be here. I look forward to learning and contributing." She scanned the faces around the table, and that was when her gaze met his. Junho. He sat near the window, his posture impeccable, dark hair perfectly styled, eyes sharp yet calm. He nodded slightly when she looked at him, expression unreadable. For a brief second, Amara felt something stir an unspoken awareness but quickly looked away, reminding herself she was here for work, not distractions. The meeting began. Amara spoke confidently about strategy models she had worked on in London, and though some colleagues exchanged doubtful glances, she noticed Junho's eyes on her. Attentive, measuring, almost intrigued. When the meeting ended, Amara gathered her notes. A shadow fell over her desk, and she looked up to find Junho standing there. His smile deepened, almost boyish. Touché. That night, they ended up talking longer than either had planned. About work, yes, but also about family. Amara spoke about her grandmother telling stories under African night skies, the firelight dancing on their faces. Junho shared about his grandfather taking him fishing by the Han River when he was a boy. The clock struck midnight, but neither of them moved. For the first time since she arrived, Amara felt Seoul didn't seem so lonely. When she finally gathered her things, Junho walked with her to the elevator. "Good night, Amara," he said, his voice softer than usual. She smiled, meeting his gaze. "Good night, Junho." The elevator doors closed, and she leaned against the wall, her heart racing. She told herself it. "You speak Korean well," he said in a low, even tone. Amara smiled. "Not well. Just enough to embarrass myself less." For the first time, his lips curved into the faintest smile. "It's impressive." And without another word, he walked away. She blinked, watching him go. Something about his presence lingered. Strong, steady, mysterious. But Amara shook her head and laughed softly to herself. "Focus, girl. You came here to work." Still, deep down, she knew something had shifted them. The weeks after Amara's arrival were a whirlwind. Every day seemed like a test, new projects, new expectations, and new faces to navigate. She often caught the curious stares of colleagues, some admiring, others skeptical. But the one gaze she could never quite ignore belonged to Junho. He was different, always composed, rarely speaking unless necessary, yet when he did, the whole room paid attention. His reports were flawless, his ideas precise, his presence magnetic. Amara blinked, then broke into a surprised smile. "You actually heard me?" He set the cup on her desk, his lips twitching into a small smile. "I listen. Sometimes." She laughed softly, her heart warming at the unexpected kindness. She took a sip, closing her eyes briefly as the taste brought a rush of home. "Thank you, Junho. You have no idea how much this means." For a moment, the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was comfortable. He lingered by her desk, and for the first time, Amara noticed the faint gentleness in his eyes beneath the sharp. Amara admired his work ethic, though she sometimes found his seriousness intimidating. One late evening, when most of the office had emptied, Amara sat at her desk, staring at numbers that blurred together on her screen. She rubbed her temples and sighed. If I had some of Mama's ginger tea right now, my brain would work twice as fast, she muttered under her breath. Minutes later, she heard footsteps. She looked up and froze. Junho was standing there, holding a steaming cup. I found this in the pantry, he said a little awkwardly. It's ginger tea. You mentioned it. Exterior. You work too hard, he said quietly. And you don't? She teased, gesturing at his files. Was just a friendly gesture. Just kindness. But deep inside, she knew it was the beginning of something more. The bond between Amara and Junho grew quietly, almost unnoticed at first. They began working together more often, their ideas blending seamlessly. In meetings, their synergy shone, her creativity paired perfectly with his precision. But the office was a place where admiration quickly twisted into jealousy. Why is he always with her? Amara overheard one colleague whisper. She's not even from here. Maybe she's just trying to climb using him. Another murmured. Amara pretended not to hear, but the words stung. She had worked too hard to be reduced to a stereotype. She swallowed the lump in her throat and forced a smile when she passed them, but inside, her heart ached. One afternoon, after a presentation where Amara had taken the lead and received praise from the director, she noticed the frosty looks from some coworkers. Papers shuffled loudly, someone scoffed, and another muttered under their breath. Later that evening, as she packed her things, Junho appeared by her desk. You heard them, he said flatly. Amara looked up in surprise. What? The whispers, the looks. I know what they say. His tone was calm, but his eyes were sharp, almost protective. Amara sighed. I try to ignore it. I've dealt with worse. But it hurts sometimes. I just want to be seen for my work, not judged for who I am, or who I spend time with. Junho was silent for a moment. Then he spoke firmly. Don't let them take that from you. You're brilliant, Amara. I see it. And they see it too. That's why they're jealous. She blinked, touched by the sincerity in his voice. You really think so? I don't think so. I know. Their eyes held for a long moment. Something unspoken passed between them, stronger than before. But just as quickly, Junho looked away, clearing his throat. Anyway, we should prepare for tomorrow's client meeting. Amara smiled faintly, recognizing his attempt to cover the moment. But her heart whispered the truth she dared not say aloud yet. She was beginning to fall for. Amara and Junho's friendship had blossomed into something deeper, though they hadn't spoken the word love aloud yet. But when feelings run that deep, it's only a matter of time before family comes into the picture. It was a Saturday evening when Amara finally gathered the courage to tell her family during a video call. Her mother's face lit up on the screen as usual, her father adjusting his glasses in the background. Amara, you're glowing, her mother teased. Is there something you're not telling us? Amara laughed nervously. Actually, there is. She hesitated before saying it. There's someone. His name is Junho. We work together. The silence that followed was sharp. Her father leaned closer. From Korea? Yes, Amara said softly. Her mother's brows knit. Amara, you know we only want the best for you. But men from different worlds. Will he understand you? Will he respect our ways? His father added, does he truly love you? Or is this just curiosity? So, Amara, his mother began, her voice polite but distant. You are far from home. Do you plan to stay in Korea permanently? Amara bowed her head respectfully. If Korea becomes my home, then yes. But I will always carry Nigeria in my heart. His father, who had been quiet, finally spoke. Our traditions are important to us. Marriage here is not only between two people, but between two families. Are you ready for that? Amara met his gaze with steady eyes. I respect your traditions deeply, sir. I may not know everything yet, but I am willing to learn. There was a pause. Then Junho's mother sighed. It will not be easy. People will talk. But if you both are strong enough, perhaps you can overcome it. That evening, as they walked out of his parents' home, Amara exhaled. I think your mother doesn't like me. Junho shook his head. She doesn't know you yet, but she will. Give her time. Amara smiled faintly. Your father is harder to read. He's watching. He always does, Junho replied. Then he slipped his hand into hers. But I know this, whatever they say, I choose you. Amara's heart swelled at his words. She squeezed his hand back. And I choose you. For the first time, despite the doubts, despite the cultural walls, they knew this love was worth fighting for. Love, they soon discovered, was not only sweet laughter and stolen glances. It was also heavy silence, sharp words from others, and the shadows of doubt that tried to creep in. At work, the whispers grew louder. What once had been gossip turned into pettiness. Amara would send out project drafts only to find her emails mysteriously missing from group threads. A presentation she had carefully prepared was accidentally deleted from the shared folder. One morning, she overheard a colleague saying, "Of course she got promoted to lead this project. She's dating Junho. Otherwise, who would notice her?" For a long moment, then nodded. "You're able." He looked at her. Amara clenched her fists, the words cutting deep. She wanted to scream that she had worked twice as hard, earned every bit of recognition, but instead, she walked away, head held high. That evening, when she told Junho he's stronger than they'll ever be. "I'll confront them." "No," Amara said firmly. "If you do, it will only prove their point. We'll just keep doing what we do best. Our work." Outside the office, it wasn't much easier. When they walked hand in hand through the streets of Seoul, some people stared openly, others whispered. A group of teenagers once laughed and said in Korean, "Why her? He could do better." Amara understood enough to know what they meant. Her chest ached, but she forced a smile and kept walking. Later, in the quiet of a cafe, she whispered, "Sometimes it feels like the whole world is against us." Junho reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "Let them look. Let them whisper. When they see us, let them see love, not difference." Tears pricked her eyes, but she smiled. "You always know the right thing to say, but even the strongest hearts waver." One night, after a particularly difficult week, Amara sat by her apartment window, staring at the Seoul skyline. Her phone buzzed with Junho's message. "Are you okay?" She typed and erased her reply 3 times before finally writing, "Sometimes I wonder if love is enough." Moments later, he is at her door, breathless, as if he had run the whole way. "You think I don't wonder too?" he said, his voice breaking slightly. "But every time I look at you, Amara, I know it is. Love is enough, if we choose it every day." She felt her heart crack open. The fear melted into tears, but they were tears of release. She stepped into his arms, holding him tightly. "Then let's keep choosing it," she whispered. "Always," he promised. The trials had not broken them. They had made their love fiercer, unshakable. And as they stood in that embrace, they both knew their story was only beginning. Beautiful cherry blossom, now it's time for the moment they fought so hard for, the wedding that brings 2 worlds together. The day dawned clear and bright, the kind of day that felt like a blessing. Amara stood before the mirror, her heart racing as the final touches were made to her gown. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before, a fusion of cultures. The top was crafted from ivory Korean silk, embroidered with delicate floral patterns, while the skirt flowed with rich African fabric, bold with red, gold, and green patterns. Around her neck, she wore a string of coral beads, a gift from her grandmother. In her hair, tucked gently, was a white binyo hairpin Junho's mother had given her that morning. When she caught sight of herself, her eyes welled with tears. "Carry them both with me," she thought. "Nigeria and Korea, my past and my future." The hall was breathtaking. Lanterns hung from the ceiling alongside garlands of bright African flowers. The air was filled with a quiet hum of drums blending with the soft notes of a geogium, a Korean zither. It was a wedding unlike any other, two worlds meeting in harmony. Amara walked down the aisle, each step steady, her eyes locked on Junho. He stood waiting in a perfectly tailored suit with a silk sash of vibrant Ankara cloth across his chest. When he saw her, his usually composed face softened into something vulnerable. Love, pure and unguarded. Their vows were simple but powerful. "I promise to walk with you, even when the road is difficult," Amara said, her voice trembling. "I promise to choose you, in every lifetime, in every world," Junho replied, his gaze unwavering. When they sealed their vows with a kiss, the room erupted in applause, some genuine, some polite. Even the colleagues who once whispered in envy found themselves awed into silence. After the vows came the traditions. First, the African blessing. Elders from Amara's family spoke words of prayer over the couple, their voices deep and rhythmic. Drums beat softly as they sprinkled water and offered symbolic gifts. A broom to sweep away troubles, salt to preserve love, and kola nuts for endurance. Then came the Korean Paebik ceremony. Dressed in vibrant hanbok, Amara and Junho bowed deeply before his parents, offering tea as a sign of respect. His mother, once uncertain, now smiled with misty eyes as she placed dates and chestnuts in Amara's hands, symbols of many children and prosperity. When the rituals were done, families from two continents, once strangers, embraced as one. The reception was a riot of joy. Nigerian highlife music flowed into Korean pop melodies, and soon, everyone was dancing together. Awkwardly at first, then with laughter. Plates overflowed with spicy jollof rice and savory bulgogi, plantains next to kimchi, puff-puff beside teok rice cakes. In the middle of it all, Amara and Junho stole a quiet moment on the balcony, looking out over the city lights. "Did you see my aunt dancing with your uncle?" Amara laughed. "I did," Junho chuckled. "The world may not be ready for that combination." Amara leaned her head on his shoulder. "We made it, Junho. Through all the whispers, the doubts. We made it." He kissed her forehead softly. "This is only the beginning." And as the music and laughter spilled out behind them, they knew that this love, born of two worlds, tested by fire, but sealed in joy, was unbreakable. Years had passed since that unforgettable wedding. Life had not been without challenges, but Amara and Junho had faced them side by side, just as they had promised. On a golden spring afternoon, they sat by the Han River, their favorite spot. The cherry blossoms swayed in the breeze, petals drifting like pink snow. Beside them, a little girl ran barefoot on the grass, her laughter ringing out like music. "Appa, Amma, look," she shouted, holding up a flower she had picked. Junho smiled, reaching for her. "Come here, Hannah." He lifted their daughter into his arms, her curls bouncing as she giggled. Amara watched, her heart swelling. Hannah's skin was the perfect blend of their worlds, her wide smile echoing Amara's and her bright eyes a mirror of Junho's. She was living proof that love could transcend borders, that beauty was born in unity. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Amara leaned against her husband. "Remember when people said we wouldn't last?" she whispered. Junho chuckled softly. "I remember. They said it would be too hard, too different, too impossible." He looked down at their daughter, who had now fallen asleep against his chest. "But they didn't know us." Amara reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. "We didn't just build a marriage, Junho. We built a world where our daughter will know she belongs everywhere." He kissed her hand gently. "And that's the greatest victory of all." Together, they sat watching the river flow, the blossoms falling around them like blessings. The world might still whisper, but for Amara and Junho, the whispers no longer mattered, because their love spoke louder than anything else. Episode 1 ends here. The next episode comes up soon. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment. Also like, share, and subscribe to my channel and click on the notification icon so that you will get notified whenever a new story is uploaded.